So every time I go out, I have the 2 cameras engaged. I like to photograph with both of them. One of them has the 70 to 200 2.8 on it, and then the 70 to
24 to 70.
24 to 70. Sorry, my brain glitches. And that is also a 2.8. So the 2.8 is really important in the low lighting.
Yeah.
A wedding couple pays you once.
A corporate client pays you for years or even decades.
It's time to leverage your creativity, knowledge, and experience in a whole new market.
Hi, I'm Don.
I'm Emily.
And we're the Mamonies.
Welcome to Hocus-Focus.
The magic behind your wildly successful studio.
We've spent the last 20 years building a system to dominate the corporate market,
so we could exceed our clients' expectations from Dallas to destinations around the world.
Now we're sharing all of our secrets with you,
so you can build a life and business you truly want, doing what you really love. Okay, on with the show.
So I wanted to roll into this podcast episode talking about how we always say that I'm the orator, the instructor, the teacher, and you're the interjector.
Yes.
As you say yes.
And just interject. Yes.
Just interject little things
right there.
And part of the reason was, as I was doing the podcast post-production and picking clips and figuring out how to educate our audience in shorter bursts, it's really hard to find
Emily clips
of you being as talented, insightful, creative, intelligent, experienced as I know you to be.
Yeah.
Because
if y'all don't know, I'm an introvert, and so I like to make things awkward. That's just kind of how I roll. So it's no offense to anybody, but I usually am kind of more reserved, and I like to listen and interject little pieces there.
Which is really fun.
Which why Dawn is my yin to my yang, right?
Yeah, we definitely complement each other. It's just interesting to me because I love it about you, because I always say that if we're all sitting around talking and everybody's offering something and then Emily speaks up, it really like a hush falls over the crowd and everybody leans in because they know you have something valuable to offer. And because you don't always, partake in participate in the conversation, that the things that you share are really wise and worth noting. And so I came up with an idea for today's episode, and it's going to be more interview style.
Okay.
And part of that is
I'm not interviewing Dawn this time.
Nope. It's going to be interview style, which means I sat down and thought of some of the things that I know are pain points from conversations I've had with people in the corporate client capture system program and questions that have come to me online that I've answered. A lot of them have to do with tech. And one of the arguments we make and we experienced was, I think wedding and social photographers, one of their kind of erroneous concerns is, but I don't have the gear, or I don't have what I need, or I'm going to have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I came up with the idea that we were going to do a what's in the bag.
What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? Emily's reference to the horror or thriller
if y'all
classic.
don't know that about me, I love horror flicks and mysteries and whodunits. So, and
one of the most disturbing is Seven, with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. No spoilers in case you haven't seen it in the last 30 years. But there's a scene where Brad Pitt asks, "What's in the box?" in
at the very end of the movie. Yeah.
So what's in the box?
What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? And so what we're going to do is I want to pre-frame the conversation talking about why what's in the bag matters. And I made some notes for myself because I really do think that the knowledge is the biggest gap.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to fill in. But that there's a fear that they don't have the right gear and that you're going to have to buy a ton of it.
Right.
And so
this is subjective too, to the artist's eye, but we're going to give you, I'm a very simple shooter. I like to photographer. I like to take natural elements, and then if I need to control the lighting, I do it very simply. Where some people might have a very complex lighting setup. That's not my gear. But
Yeah.
so I like to put that in there because it's in the eye of the beholder of how they want to approach it.
It's entirely up to the shooter in the sense that there are some pretty important basics.
Right. Which is my bag. It's very basic, but that's why we're talking about it. Not Don's bag, my bag.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your bag almost entirely today because you and I shoot differently.
Yeah, we do.
And we use two different camera brands. We are a house divided.
We are.
But we'll get into that. But I wanted to point it out that it is subjective. There are things that some people think you absolutely have to have. Other people are like, I would never need that in my corporate bag.
Right.
That's fine too. The argument that I have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff, number one, I think most people have exactly what they need.
Yeah.
The second thing is you don't have to buy it. You can borrow it. You can rent it.
Yeah.
And you can even buy it used.
Yeah.
So like some of the things when you sort of put it together based on a need to have, nice to have, don't really need to have, you could start to triage that and say, this lens is something I think I'm definitely going to need. I'm going to save up and buy it new and it'll be my workhorse. Other people say, I'm going to find this on the used market, whether it be through a company or like on a Facebook marketplace or professional buy, sell, trade. But we're in the business of destroying common misconceptions.
Yes.
And so practically the way that we're going to do that today is I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to tell me what's in your bag.
All right.
So I think the number one thing that we have to talk about is what camera bodies, well, I guess we could just go ahead and get it out of the way. What brand of camera are you loyal to?
I am loyal to Canon. Yay!
You're loyal to Canon. I made the switch to Sony about 15 years ago.
Yes.
So we're house divided.
Yep.
We're not going to have a conversation about which brand is better because I've frequently said, and I think Emily agrees, you work with the brand that you most align with that works best for you.
Yeah.
They're all similar. They all have their benefits and they all have their drawbacks.
Yeah.
So
I would say your three top brands, though, that you see in the corporate realm would be Canon, Nikon, and Sony.
Yep.
You see a few other cameras, but those are really the big workhorses.
For stills.
If
we talk about cinema, I think Sony has the lead in cinema, and then every once in a while you'll see like a camera red, or now like DJI is doing amazing things with small video cameras.
That's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other episode. So for stills, typically Canon, Sony, and Nikon.
Yep.
We are house divided, Canon and Sony. You shoot with Canon. What camera bodies are you currently using?
All right. So a little while ago, I switched over to the silent cameras because it's mirrorless. And so in corporate, you'll find that is more important than you think. Yeah. So we've been in situations where they call for complete silence and you still need to get in there and get the shot. So that was a big step. I work with the R5. It is the original body for that. It's still working great, huge files. But my workhorse is the R6 Model 2. That camera just is beautiful. It captures really well in low lighting, which you need in the corporate world. Yeah. And so there's not zero, but there's next to no grain at higher ISOs, and it is fast. It doesn't overheat when you're having to take rapid shots. It's an amazing camera body. I recommend it highly.
Okay, so Canon 5 Mark 1, 6 Mark 2, both mirrorless. Worth pointing out that these are the types of professional camera bodies that most wedding photographers and social photographers would be using. If you're primarily a portrait photographer and you're just getting started and you're using a lower end camera body with a kit lens, it's hard to step up to the corporate environment, but it's not impossible. So worth noting.
What was our older camera body that we really loved from Canon?
We had the 5D Classic, which was my favorite camera body when I very first started because it was my full frame, first ever full frame DSLR digital. I started with a crop sensor and it was just a beautiful camera. It was great at its time, but that was 20 years ago. Yeah. And obviously they've come a long way. And in another episode, we'll talk a little bit about how we picked our camera systems and why. But today it's more about,
what is in the whole bag.
What is in the whole bag. And again, bringing comfort to photographers that are thinking, I don't know that I can make this move because of what's in my bag. So two camera bodies. Obviously, you're going to have to attach something to the front of them.
Right. This is actually more important than you think.
Most people, especially now, would say that the camera lenses are more important than camera bodies. If you're going to spend money, you're going to want to spend them on what we call our glass.
Yep.
It's where you're going to invest your money.
Yes.
And so tell me, what are your favorite camera lenses that you attach to the front of your camera
So every time I go out, I have the two cameras engaged. I like to photograph with both of them. One of them has the 70 to 200 2.8 on it, and then the 70 to
24 to 70.
24 to 70. Sorry, my brain glitches. And that is also a 2.8. So the 2.8 is really important in the low lighting world.
And depth of field.
If
you're being an artist.
Yeah. But depth of field is tricky when you're in the corporate environment because you could shoot at 2.8, but if you're at the back of the room, then everything's focused, right? And so that you're only going to notice that when you're getting closer to your subject.
For sure.
That you'll see the depth of field engaged.
So those are your two workhorses. Okay. And both of them are one is a more zoom lens, one is a more medium range. Both of them, those zoom lenses.
Yes.
So because of the speed to which you have to react.
Right.
When someone's on stage and you want to get wider shots of them on stage and tighter shots of them on stage, that zoom is critical. And the 2.8, which is what makes the lenses so incredibly expensive.
Yes.
Being able to stay at a fixed focal length, a fixed f-stop, at whatever zoom, whatever focal length you're at, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's what people
if you're going to be shopping online, like, oh, the 4, don't do it.
I shoot with the 4.
You do.
I shoot with the 4. But for a very specific reason.
Right. But you're also have your beautiful 70 to 200 at 2.8.
and I would honestly never buy, as a professional photographer in the corporate arena, I would never buy a kit lens that has a adjustable f-stop based on the zoom. So for those of you that are newer in the market, if you see, oh my gosh, this is a 70 to 105, but it says like f3.5 to f5.6, it means that as you zoom, your maximum aperture, you lose stops of light.
Yes.
And so wide out, you're doing a great and beautiful job. And then you zoom in and suddenly all your images are dark. It's because as you zoom in, your maximum f-stop, you have to give up that light. That's not something we recommend. It is not.
And so a little tidbit about myself, and I like to shoot manual. And so, and Don hates it.
I don't hate that.
We're very different, but I like complete control. And so I don't, because I would be having to change my settings.
Yeah. Because as you zoom in, literally you wouldn't be able to shoot at that f-stop anymore.
Correct.
You would end up with underexposed images. So I'm going to keep recapping as we go, because we're talking tech today. Two camera bodies, two workhorse zoom style lenses, one 70 to 200, one 24 to 70, both with a fixed maximum aperture of f-stop 2.8.
Yes. These are must go.
Those are your must haves.
I do not go to a corporate event without these guys.
Okay. What about prime lenses? Any lens that has a fixed focal length?
Okay. So I have a 16 Canon. It's a super affordable little lens. I use this for obviously for the wide shot of the room. And I like this lens because it's so light, because when I engage this lens, I don't use it very often, but I will put my R6 on a monopod, and then I will put this lens on there because it's so light, the camera doesn't tilt. Okay, this is important. And so I will get that monopod up as high as I can, and I put it up in the air as high as I can in a situation where I can't get elevated to capture the size of the room. The room shot.
Okay,
this is the room shot. And this is the shot that they want to show the scale of their event.
Right.
And this allows for it.
And it creates a perspective that either most people wouldn't think about. Yeah. And that most people can't capture.
Yes.
Okay. So
when I'm training our photographers, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What are we doing?
Look what we were able to
look what we're doing."
So on your R6, you throw on this 16 millimeter prime lens, which is not only short but very lightweight.
2-second timer.
Put a timer on it. Throw it up in the air. Know what you want to capture. Yeah. And it fires while it's up there. You bring it back down. You make sure you get it. And it basically, I think I've heard the clients literally say, "Oh my God, how'd you get that?" Yeah. Because there's no trussing and there's no second floor and there's no balconies. Yeah. Amazing. So we can quickly jump ahead to accessories. One of the accessories you like to carry with you is a monopod.
Yes.
Okay. A lightweight like carbon fiber.
I use a
monopod.
Manfrotto, and this guy gets very, very tall.
It's like I want to say it's 8 feet.
Yes.
And then when you lift
And
it
then
up,
when
so
I
you're
lift
getting
it
up
up,
to like 10, 11, 12 feet.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So we've got cameras, bodies, camera lenses. We've talked about a prime. Is there another? Do you carry any more prime lenses?
I have 2 more. So I have a 35,
Okay.
which if I'm doing street photography and I'm just kind of cruising, I put the 35 on. It's lightweight. It doesn't, again, it's a cheaper lens.
Right.
So I'm not worried about it getting banged around. I took it to Greece.
Yeah.
I did a whole portrait series with the 35 and did just really great shots.
Amazing.
Obviously, you have to be manual and you move in and out for your
there's no zoom.
cry.
You're
the zoom.
Your feet are the zoom.
Yes. And so I got some really beautiful results with this lens. It's, again, very affordable because it doesn't have all the zooming and all that stuff.
And you can have a lower maximum aperture.
Yeah.
Because prime lenses without the zoom, it becomes affordable.
I think it still goes to 1.4. Yeah.
It goes really low. And the benefit to that is you can, number one, great depth of field.
Right.
If you're taking headshots, not a 35, but a 50 or an 80 is probably better.
Yeah.
If depending on what you're doing. But I think a lot of people don't understand that whenever you have a zoom lens and a fixed maximum f-stop, you're going to pay through the nose.
Yes.
Right? Like the 24 to 105 or the 24 to 70, depending on which one you prefer, is probably 2,500.
Yeah.
At this point, a 70 to 200, 2.8 is probably somewhere between 3 and 3,500.
Yeah.
These are expensive pieces of glass, but the ones you use the most and the ones that give you the most flexibility. Whereas you can pick up, I mean, there's one called a Thrifty 50 for every camera brand.
Which I also have the Thrifty 50.
I know you do.
Because it's, if I need a cheap situation, it still does a great job.
My favorite use of that lens, I have a 35 like you, and I have a 50. The 35 goes to 2.8 and the 50 goes to 1.4.
1.4, yeah.
Okay. The 1.2 lens is like $2,500.
Yes.
The 1.4 and 1.8 are like $350 and $50.
Yeah.
And so I think I have the one in the middle. It was 300 and change.
Well, they're not 50 more. They're like...
Yeah, probably 80. But it's more fun to say thrifty 50.
Yeah.
But I put it on when we do crowd shots.
Yeah.
And so in the corporate arena, you have a lot of times a presentation that's happening on stage.
Yep.
And what you'll notice is if you're photographing in the front row, which is where most of the VIPs are, and you throw on this 50 millimeter lens, the last thing in the world you would ever want to do is put a flash on the front row of the audience watching the presentation. It's a distraction and it's not what you want to do. And so you need a lot of light. So you bump your ISO, you throw this wide aperture prime lens on, and you just kind of very carefully and slowly and, below the radar, walk across the front below the stage there, and you're getting reaction shots of VIPs, stakeholders, owners, people that paid the most amount of money to be there, other speakers that are in the audience waiting to go up on stage. It's a great way to get a natural, high quality photo of reactions of what's happening on the stage. Simply.
Yeah. And the 70 to 200 is probably the main piece of glass we use, but it is intimidating to somebody who's sitting in the crowd, right? Yeah. And so if you're up front and you're kind of getting those more intimate shots and you're using that, they're like, this person's photographing up my nose right now. I don't know. Like,
why are they so close
where
to me?
The 50 is a little, it flies under the radar. You're less intrusive.
It's really kind of a voyeuristic lens in the world of photography. And so I'll also use that lens in the pre-function area if you're out in the foyer. Yeah. I'll hide literally behind a pillar, behind a post. You see two people engaging, and if you come up to them with a big camera lens, even if it's the 24 to 70, they immediately know, and then they feel awkward, and they feel compelled to look towards you. Yeah. And you want to say, no, just pretend like I'm not here. It's almost impossible.
Another thing with the 35, if we're like, we've just photographed Final Hacking Live, and we're on the 5th day of 16-hour days. Yeah. And we're tired. Yeah. And I need to go get group shots.
35.
I throw that 35 on because my arms are tired. And the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200 are heavy lenses. Yep. And so your wrist is like, oh, I need a break. They take a really great, there's not too much barreling on the side. Yeah. And it's not something that is noticeable. You can get it corrected in Lightroom. So that is also...
It's a go-to sort of simple. Keep it simple,
Yes.
keep it light. The other thing that's interesting to me is a lot of people don't know the 35 millimeter lens on a full frame camera. It literally mimics your eyesight.
Yes.
It mimics your depth of field and your framing that your natural eye would. And so it's both beneficial in a sense that when you capture with that 35 millimeter lens, you're replicating what people actually saw when they were there,
Yes.
which serves a purpose. The other camera lenses and accessories and the way in which we show up, it's to capture something that other people wouldn't be able to capture.
Yeah.
Right? So we oftentimes will look at a scene and say, how do we capture and create something here that nobody else will?
Yeah.
With their iPhone, somebody didn't see it.
Yeah.
Somebody couldn't create it. So that's a really great point with the 35. Okay, so we've covered camera bodies, camera lenses. Now we're going to talk about lighting, one of the most important things.
One of the very most important things.
And so we're going to, for today's purposes, we're not going to dig too deep into or available light shooting. We can talk about that another day. But what I want to talk about is what's in your bag.
This is what's in the bag.
What's in your bag when it comes to lighting.
So you show up, you've got a super crappy lighting.
That never happens.
It never happens. And so your client has an expectation of what the images need to look like. And so it is your job as the photographer to deliver said photos. Okay. So in my bag, I always, with the two camera bodies, with the two lenses, I always have off-camera lighting set up. And so my unit that I find works really well with Canon is Godox. And so I have wireless trigger that goes on top of the camera, and then I've got two kind of
receivers.
Two receiver hot shoe flash systems, and then when I'm on a bigger conference, I bring the big Mama Jama,
studio light,
which is a battery charged wire. I don't need it to be plugged in. Light. It's
studio head.
Yes, and so that is critical. I find that I need at least two hot shoe flashes, and I need my big Mama Jama.
So to speak technically to my creative,
I'm not.
So you have two speedlights, which you can either mount to the top of your camera, or you can mount them on basically a cold shoe mount on a tripod. Yeah, and you carry those around with you.
Or light stands. Yes.
So the studio head is for bigger, larger, more imposing environments where you need to light up something that's larger or a larger group of people. A couple things I want to point out. Number one, I think it's interesting because in the general session, you typically have production lighting. Yeah. Now that production lighting can be one of two different types of production lighting. It can be really expensive production lighting that is a photographer's dream.
Yes.
Or it can be production lighting that is great for the visible eye, but not really great for photography. Yeah. And the reason I want to bring that up is because you and I have had conversations about the fact that you'll go into a room and there'll be, I'm using the podcast air quotes, there'll be production lighting, right? But you'll get in there and you'll be like, ooh, this is great for visible light. You can see the speaker. Yes. They're separated from the background and they look lovely. But with a camera, it's going to look dark and it's going to look sort of unidirectional, which is not the most appealing.
Yes. And you have a couple of things that also, like, so if they have LED screens in the background, there's a lot of light considerations. And
so you have to supplement light in that situation, which is why you bring two speed lights that are battery powered and radio transmitted, because you can put one out in the audience, either mid audience or back of the room, depending on how much power you have, how big the room is. And you can light that person in a way that then makes them look like there is high quality production light on them. Yeah. The trade-off is you have to present that to your client as something that you'd like to do. And then typically, I think what you've said is you'll do a certain number of flash to get each speaker in that beautiful light, and then maybe turn it off and just do natural light shooting. Yes. Because you said, a client really, knows what to expect. I think a lot of the times what they expect is that the photos will be whatever they are. Yeah. Based on this scene that's been set. And this is a really great opportunity for our audience to realize that you can exceed expectations that have been set by previous artists. Yes. In breakout rooms. Go ahead, talk about breakout rooms.
Well, we'll go back to the conference room first. And so they have this magnificent setting. And so I just recently had this not too long ago, and it looked beautiful, but they had the ballroom itself had really strong yellow
lights.
down lighting. And although the stage production lighting would have been really beautiful, the client had wanted to keep the light up in the audience because they were making notes. And so this wasn't something the production team could do anything about.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, it made everybody that was speaking at the podium or on the stage have horrible raccoon eyes, and just was not flattering with the yellow highlights on the face and stuff. And so when you have your smaller speed lights, they do a good job. But in this case, the client was, I told her, we had a little chat beforehand. I'm like, oh, here's the lighting. I showed him what the stage lighting looked like prior with no supplemental lighting. And then I showed her and she's like, okay, please.
We're going to do that.
We're going to do that.
Yeah.
And so with that, my speed lights her request was make sure that they're in the back of the room. And so when you have a smaller speed light, they're not going to hit as high light from that distance, right? And so that's when we bring in the big studio lights. I like to have it ready to go. And so with the lighting, I like to talk about stands, right?
Yep.
And so you need to have in your bag tall stands.
Tall stands.
Yeah. So in the wedding world, this is not really always something you have to worry about, but in a corporate situation, you need to have stands that can get up high enough to meet stage heights and stuff. And so we get that light. I put a sandbag on it because we're getting that big heavy light up really high. So you need to make sure you're safe and stuff like that. So, and by the distance of it being in the back, it's also not a trip hazard and things like that. So stands.
Yep.
And modifiers are
all
kind
part of the accessories.
Yeah. And so you need to have brackets to hold your flashes.
Yeah.
There's
umbrella brackets so that you can modify your light.
Yes.
I want to touch on something that maybe people don't know. In the wedding world, you might have like a huppah or a canopy or some sort of gazebo.
Yeah.
But they're typically floor height.
Yes.
In a big production ballroom, you might have a 32 to 36 inch stage.
Yes.
And that's so that, of course, if you're in the back of a room with 5,000 people in it, those people are elevated enough where you're not losing them, right?
Yeah.
And so when you talk about having a 6-foot light, that's only 3 feet above where the heads of the people are, right? And you're basically lighting the people's shoes on the stage.
Yeah.
And so getting to 6, 8, 9, 10 feet it's important. It's not just like a nice to have or, it's convenient.
It's a need.
It's a really a need to have. So, okay. So we've covered speed lights and things. We were just kind of getting into the accessories.
Yeah.
So a monopod, a minimum of 2 light stands, maybe 3 in case you need to use both speed lights and the big mamma jamma, I think you call it, the studio light.
I also like to make a note for myself, with the speed lights, I usually have one on a stand in the back of the room ready to go just in case I need to run quickly. Yep. It's turned off. I'm using mostly the big studio to control the light in that room. And then I have my 3rd speed light in my bag that I'm carrying because the client's like, oh no, I need this, blah, 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 blah. And it's not a situation where I can bring a light on a stand. Then I know that I can just slap it on the top of the hot shoe and off we go.
So you like to stay nimble on it because that is one thing. They're all good plans, right? A, B, C, D. We end up at double Z sometimes and we feel like, holy smokes, it's a good thing we had all these different things. And the reason that you keep multiple lights is because on your transmitter, of course, you can say, I need light A, B, C, whatever. And you can control which light you're using.
Yep.
And that happens in breakout rooms a lot. You know, we kind of want to touch on that. I know that you and I, we take it personally that the expectation is just do the best you can.
Yeah.
Because breakout rooms almost never have production light because production light's expensive.
Yes.
It's really expensive, especially when it's done well, which is when earlier we said some ballrooms have like a photographer's dream.
Yeah.
That's typically when an event has a massive production budget. A lot of them don't. And we get it. Like it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
You should probably invest in your photographer, right? Not your production light.
Right.
I'm kidding. You know, every event is a little different. But in breakouts, it's almost never there. Because if you've got like 5 or 6 concurrent breakouts, to light every single one of those breakouts would cost tens of thousands of dollars. So you carry your light on a stick, as I call it, right? On a and you walk
get an arm workout as you're walking from.
You walk in and you set it down, and you take a few snaps, close up, medium range, a wider shot, and it makes that person who's speaking at the front of the room, which this might be a really special moment for them.
Yes.
Right. I was invited to come to this conference and speak in one of these breakout rooms. It provides them a photo that is way better than they would ever be able to get with the natural light. Because to your point, it's typically really, 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 really warm light.
Yeah.
It's right above the person's head. If you ever want to feel really bad about yourself, take a light and put it right above your head.
Right.
It accentuates every possible wrinkle.
Yes.
It gives you raccoon eyes. It creates shadows under your chin and neck that are just terrible.
Yeah. A nice, what we call the mustache light.
Yeah, mustache light that's here from any, and when you just pop a little light on them and you shoot from a couple different angles and you get a couple medium range, it completely transforms that photo.
And we do it discreetly. We'll take, just depends on the room and how many people are speaking, but I will confirm that I've got a nice close-up, nice medium, and a large, and then I'll take some natural light in the room so they can see the difference, and that gives them a little bit more variety. Natural light I always do on the guests sitting in the room because, again, you don't want to flash. Usually I'm setting my light to the back of the room so it's lighting the speaker, so it's not distracting the eyes of the people that are there to listen. So,
and those are important shots, like getting someone taking notes, getting someone focused on the screen. You're telling the experience. And so many of these photos are used by our clients for marketing to create FOMO.
Help sell their conference the next year.
Look at all these people and all the notes they're taking and how attentive they are. And like you can get, a lot of times the speakers are funny or they're engaging to the degree where somebody's laughing and you get a reaction shot. So those are really important. Okay, so we're moving into sort of now this slightly more subjective, but so important, like accessories and sundries. We've covered the camera bodies, the lenses, the lighting, the accessories to support the lighting to include umbrellas, modifiers. What's in your bag that has absolutely nothing to do with photography that you always keep in your bag?
Oh man, gum.
Mints and gum.
And a granola bar.
Granola bar.
Yeah.
And then
in our world, we don't push to be fed. It's nice, but you're there to do a job. And so we're there to just so having my snacks and things so I can just take a little bite here and there.
Admittedly, most of our clients are incredibly thoughtful.
Oh yes. Most of them are eat in the staff.
They're like, hey, we have a staff meal.
But every now and then they're like, hey, you got to photograph during this meal. And so you don't have that time.
We always prepare for whatever the eventuality is. And in a professional environment, I can forego a meal for a few hours, and as long as I can keep my blood sugar up and keep working, I'm happy to do it.
Water and
water
then
bottle,
chapstick.
Okay, I've got a
What's
couple
in
of
your
other things. So you always carry tape with you?
Always, yes.
We always carry gaff tape, and we carry black and typically silver for a couple of reasons. Black to blend in. Silver is if we have to do what's called spike the stage to let a person know where to stand so that they can look at us if they're doing awards photos or whatever else. We can do what's called spiking the stage. I also tend to carry things that I think someone else might need. Pens.
Yes.
Tide stick.
Yes.
I think you covered that.
I actually, so this is used all the time by our clients. I carry extra lens cloths because those beautiful award photos are this glass awards, which are the trend right now. When you've handed the same award, because they're mailing them to them when they go home, and there's fingerprints and that studio stage lighting hits the award, it looks really not great.
No, it's crazy.
After 10 people have touched it.
So every once in a while you stop and get them to wipe it?
Yeah. So actually beforehand now, that's one of the professional things that we do. I'm like, here's a lens cloth that you can just
hold on to.
Let's wipe. And they're like, oh, thank you. I never thought of it. Because they're so busy about all the other elements that is one that is very popular.
I also, especially during the conference season. So conference season is typically fall going into winter. And then spring going into summer. I always carry cough drops. I mean, it's one of those things I just kind of keep a handful of them in my bag every season, and you'd be surprised how many people, whether they be the planners working the day or even speakers that are going up that have like a tickle in their throat from changing environments, from flying, traveling. Maybe they're picking up a little something on the road, which it's not ideal. But ultimately, we just try to keep things in our bag that we've learned over the years are things that the client might need?
So the little things that we didn't talk about that are very, very, very important are your camera accessories, that you need to make sure you have lots of batteries and making sure the batteries are compatible with your new cameras, guys. This I've learned.
Just because it's the same brand and even a different of Mark model, like your 5D Mark 1 versus 5D Mark 2 versus 5.
Yes.
Like every time it feels like they change the camera battery.
And so the camera battery that goes in the R5 does not play nice in the 6.
Yeah.
And so you need to have multiples. And because you're shooting a long conference day and you might not always be able to get to charge your gear as you're going, you need to make sure you have enough of said batteries to get you through the day. And so if it's rechargeable AA's or whatever, that's something that you need to pay attention to. And I'm super Go Camera brand specific on this because I have not had luck with aftermarket
So
batteries.
Aftermarket flashes, we have found, I used to only buy proprietary brand flashes, and I found that they were $600 and they had the same propensity to break and have issues.
Yes.
They typically weren't serviceable. And if they were serviceable, we're talking $250, $300 to have them repaired.
And not always get fixed.
Get fixed. Or you have some of these off brands. You use Godox. I use Westcott. We've been happy with both.
Yes.
I just replaced mine after yours, and there were some advances with Westcott that I liked.
Yeah.
But ultimately, these flashes are $200 to $300 at most, at their maximum, at the nicest quality.
And you all know if you photographed a wedding or whenever, there's just situations where your light's going to take a dive.
Yeah, and it's good to have a backup.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And so when you're paying a third the price for it and it's still functioning just as well, I recommend it.
Yeah, so. I've found that misfire rates, anything like that, connectivity issues, they've been just the same, if not better.
I've been very, very happy with Godox, with Canon specifically.
Yeah.
Now they play differently with different brands. And so I don't have misfire rates with the gear that I have there, which I'm very thankful for.
Part of the reason that happens is we go to the conferences, we go to imaging, we go to WPPI, we go to different places and we talk to the reps. Yeah. We also have a local camera store that we buy our gear from, not to knock online retailing, especially if you live in a small town, but we like to go and test out the gear, find out.
What's that camera store?
We go to Competitive Camera. At times we go to Arlington Camera. Both are amazing stores. Both have great proprietors and sales professionals. Sometimes they have people come in from the different camera brands and rep their stuff. Yeah. So I started shooting with the Westcott flashes because at the time I needed to update it. Yeah. We were at Imaging, happened to be here in Dallas. And there was a Westcott rep. Yeah. And I sat and I chatted with them, and they have local people here in the US. They have repair facilities here in the US. Godox is more of kind of a, hey, you buy it, and they work really, really well and typically for a long time, but when they break, they break. Yeah. So both are, I find, to be great. I want to touch on one more thing before we sign off.
I have two more things, but go ahead.
No, you go first.
Okay. With the camera gear, I love now that I can get a trigger and I can use Don's flashes.
Right. So when we use
and you can
brand,
use mine. Yeah.
You can buy, so Emily's Godox Studio Light, I could pay $160 and get a trigger. Yep. And I can now use her Studio Light on my camera.
Yes. And so it's not, it doesn't break the bank to get that. And then the last thing I want to make sure that drive home is your cards that you're using in your cameras. This is really important because in the corporate, there's two statements on this. The gear that we use is specific to this, that we need to shoot on 2 cards simultaneously. Right. And so this is what makes pro gear very expensive, but important. So if you have, hopefully you will never have this experience, but if you have a card fail, you've got a backup in the camera already. Yep. So very, very important, because that little, what is it, CF card? SD card may have had a trauma that you didn't know about. And so after you format it and everything's great, and then you might have a failure, you already have your backup in the camera.
Yep. And we've had multiple cards fail over our 20-year career. Yes. And knock on whatever, we haven't had data loss because of the redundancy and because of the way we archive, which we'll talk about in another episode. interestingly enough, my point was the same as your point.
Okay, because
it's about camera cards.
It is, and then speed, right? So there's a lot of things that go in that little card.
Most important is do not save money on cards.
No.
I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I can get by with using blank card. There's a lot of ways in which I think that as a business owner and operator, you can save money.
Yes.
And try to protect margin. Cards isn't one of them, and it's ever so important right now because with the AI shift in the world, hard drives and camera cards have become just ridiculously expensive.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It's your livelihood.
Yes.
If you buy a cheap card and it fails, you're going to kick yourself so hard, you're going to have trouble getting back up again.
Yeah.
So we choose SanDisk Extreme.
Yep.
That's the brand we've been using for a very long time. We've had really good luck with them.
Yes.
The card failures we had were the old CF cards that we used to use in our Canon 5D 1 through 4. I haven't, knock on wood, had any really troubles with that, but I think that people are looking at it now and they're like, what? I have to pay what for one card? They are reusable. We replace them every year.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, depending on the volume of projects that we've shot. We keep them separate.
Yes.
So that the Canon uses one set of cards and the Sony uses another set of cards. I don't know that there's any reason why you would have any problem crossing them over, but my thought is it's formatted for the camera that you use versus formatted for the camera I use. Cross-formatting across camera brands, does it work it harder? Does it give it problems? Is it?
Yeah.
Don't know, but it's easy. You know, we label ours.
And you won't, like, if I accidentally grab one of Don's cards and I put it in the Canon and I'm checking the card before I clear it and format it, I won't see it will not show the information. Okay. It's too little languages. It's a different database tool. Yeah.
And so ultimately, in all likelihood, it won't matter, but I don't like to risk it. So I'm like, hey, it's easy for me to say, these are Emily's cards, these are my cards, and we keep them separate. But hard drives, a RAID system, cards in your camera and in your bag.
And we'll go more into that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But that's not what you carry in your bag.
Yeah. And then what is the other little sneaky thing that we use quite often?
I mean, I use a puffer.
Yeah, you have to have the puffer in the bag.
Yeah.
This has been used for many, many different things. Yeah. But it's critical because
cleaning your sensor and your lens before you put them together is responsible.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
that's a good one. I didn't really think about that little rocket air puffer. Yeah. Do not ever use compressed air anywhere near your camera.
Yeah.
The little puffer, it's called rocket air. You know, you just squeeze it and it gives a little puff of air.
Yeah.
And then you can make sure.
What else is in the bag?
I mean, we've got all kinds of tricks and things that we've done over the years, like different ways to hold the cameras, camera grips.
Yeah.
All of those.
And again, that's subjective to
like
what type of photographer you are.
Yeah. So. I think we can talk a little bit more about that.
I would say my other go-to thing I have to have with me on a big corporate event is my triangle bag.
Yeah. You have a little.
So I don't like the gear that mounts on your body.
Yeah.
I like to be able to just switch
it out.
You
look like a little kangaroo.
I do look like a kangaroo, but I also have all my things.
Yeah.
And so
if you wear it on the front rather than in the back,
it doesn't bump people.
It doesn't bump people and accidentally, because you don't realize you got a hump back there. So you put it on the front and then you can change them out real fast.
And then when I'm getting tired, I can rest my elbow.
Rest your arm on it. Yeah.
This bag, it's I just really recommend a bag like that. That's for myself because I'm not as strong as I used to be. And so now this bag helps me carry all the things.
I think it's a work smarter, not harder moment.
Yeah.
Right?
I got my flash in there. I got my extra batteries, my extra cards, if I, chapstick.
I think that's one of the morals of the stories. Today's podcast episode was one to not only feature Emily's depth and breadth of knowledge and experience, and kind of coax it out of her interview style, but also to say that like every photographer is different.
Yes.
They shoot differently. They use different gear. Literally someone could be listening to this being like, they just don't even know they should be using blank. And they should
tell
be doing
us
this.
about the things that you guys love.
So feel free to share.
Yeah.
It's a very personal choice of how you shoot, what you shoot with. Yeah. All those things.
I don't like, for myself, and we just recently taught some people this, I don't like to switch my camera lenses too much in a room that has high smoke in it. And so haze. And so what that you don't realize is that puts a coating on your gear. And so when you're switching the lens, so if you're trying to just use one camera body and you're switching your 70 to 200 to 24 to 70 a lot, you're capturing a lot of that element in your camera housing. And so when you get the day started, that's why I shoot with two cameras. I'm not switching a lot because I'm minimizing risk. And so that's my my preference. Everybody has a different. I don't want to send my stuff off a Canon that often to get it cleaned.
Well, I will say, try to have your gear cleaned and checked every year.
And we do. Check it once a year.
It's included in your Canon or Sony professional services.
And this bag has been accomplished over the years, right? And so like you said at the beginning of this, you're like, I really don't want to spend the money on this fixed lens right now. Or a lot of wedding photographers may not have a 70 to 200 yet. That's when you're going to take those elements and like, hey, I'm Arlington or whoever you like to work with. Can I rent this? And I'm going to try this out. And then you're going to fall in love and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to invest.
Or you're going to hate everything about it.
You're going to be like, my arm's falling off because this lens is so heavy.
I don't know why I thought about buying this. In fact, I've done that before. I've gone down to Eugene and Competitive and I've said, hey, when I was making the decision about one camera lens over the other, I rented them both.
Yes, you did.
And I'm not saying that this is a bank breaker. You're talking about maybe $35-$40 for an entire weekend.
Yeah.
Typically, I would rent them on a Friday and play with them and use them either on location or mimic what I would be doing.
Yeah.
And you have 3 or 4 days to test it out.
Remember we had that beautiful 85 portrait lens and
didn't use it that much.
Never.
I used it a lot for weddings and for the social world, but it didn't warrant having a almost $2,500 lens in my bag that I just didn't use that often. Same thing with the macro, like 100 millimeter macro to do really, really fine detail work. Probably not something you would need anymore. And so
unless you're doing food photography or different type of stuff there. But those are lenses that we used a lot when we did weddings and just don't do.
I got an idea. We're going to do a podcast episode in the future and it'll be build your bag. Instead of what's in your bag, build your bag. And we can talk about like different products, different things,
and why
brands we
you
love.
Specifically may want to use
one thing over another.
And so our dear friend Simon loves to do portraits with a 70 to 200 because the glass just is so pretty. Really pretty. And so you may not even need portrait lenses anymore when you fall in love with that lens. It just depends on the eye of the artist.
He also uses a tripod to do headshots a lot of the times, which I've never become a adept at.
So that's another thing is some people would, I just use a monopod. I don't need a tripod unless we're doing video work and we don't do that very often. So you would want to maybe have a nice tripod in there. So
build your bag.
Yes.
Understand that you have most of what you would need to be able to use it for corporate work. If you want to know more about how we do it, how we went from weddings to corporate, how we find our clients, how we communicate with our clients, how we sent them work and earn their trust and confidence, go to sheddingthewedding.com. That's our fun little thing. That's a wrap.
That's it.
You're creative, you're knowledgeable, and you've got all the experience and professional gear you'll need.
It's time to leverage it all in a whole new market full of loyal clients.
Remember, it's not about more, it's about different and better.
Hit subscribe, leave us a review, so other creatives can find their way to us on Hocus-Focus.
Join us next week for more magic behind your wildly successful studio.
I'm Don.
I'm Emily.
Thanks for listening.